Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk Show. I'm your host, Hassan. Today, I have with me Adil and Famik. Today's discussion will be on West Brom versus Manchester United. Question goes out to you, Famik. What did you make of the first half? The West Brom goal, was that a foul or it wasn't a foul?
I'm a fan of Arsenal, and it just reminds me of the goal that Alonso scored against Bellerin, where he just wanted it more. Similar style, except I don't think there was a foul. So Lindelof should have been stronger, but we know that's his weakness. He is a decent defender. He just struggles against stronger opponents, like he did today. Or today, not today, but in the game.
Anything to add on that, Adil?
Well, what I would say is I agree in the sense that it was soft, but in today's VAR world, that is a clear foul, because he had his hands all over the face. But yeah, we all football purists, we all don't really want to see penalties given for that, but then it does bring into question the consistency of VAR and this season, because there's been a lot of soft penalties given or not given for minimal contact, and it just seems like there's no consistency with it. So although as a football fan, I would say I'm glad it wasn't a penalty. It was a penalty. Really should have been ruled out. When you look at the evidence and you go to VAR, which is more factual, was Lindelof fouled in the process to Diagne getting his head on the ball? Yes, he was, because he had his arm all over his face. Similar to a few weeks ago when Billy Sharp pushed De Gea in the back. You know, it's a running theme with VAR that there is no consistency, and you'll see other games where the most slightest of touch and it's given as a free kick. Even today, so I have more an issue with the consistency of VAR, but you're totally right. Lindelof is too soft. He's not United class, and
none of United's defenders are United class.
In my opinion,
apart from Bailly.
In my opinion, he should have dealt with that. But if you watch Man United game regularly, that is how Lindelof deals with balls in the air all the time, which is he leans back. He doesn't jump in, he doesn't attack it. He's always standing upright, leaning back. Even in set pieces, he's never looking to jump. He's looking to lean in on a striker all the time and shield it or feather it away instead of actually attacking the ball and headering it. It's a weakness and a flaw United had all season, and you can tell Oli recognizes it, because that was the whole of the first half. He had McTominay sitting and shielding in front of Diagne and in front of Lindelof, because he had no faith in Lindelof to win any headers.
On to that, I wanted to say something in terms of United and how they started the game. They started really slow. Do you think this is down to complacency, or is there something more to it that we're not seeing really? What's it down to their start to games?
It is just Man United. They've not been good enough to be complacent. This is just how Man United are. They are an average team performing above expectations because of individual as opposed to the team itself. So Man United have started slowing most of their games this season. Most of the games they've won, they've had to come from behind. So this is just usual stuff. They just couldn't do it this time.
I think there is a mindset problem with Manchester United. I think it stems from partly because of the results. They keep getting away with it, and so they don't actually tackle this problem of slow starts. Majority of their goals come in second half. A lot of their performances improve after they concede. So clearly there is a mindset problem when they start out in these games, because they and it stems from, you'll see it from Ollie's pre-match interviews. You can just tell there's this relaxed nature about the way United approach games, where and I think, it's a false sense of security. They think they are better or playing better because of how high they are in the league. But for those who watch the games, it doesn't correlate. For the non-diehard blind following fans, there are concerns there because of the inconsistencies the team keeps showing.
I mean, on that, really, just before halftime, Fernandes scores a brilliant goal again. But
the goal wasn't that good.
He's in the last 5 games he had a goal contribution of 5, which 3 of them were goals and 2 assists. But I mean, is there over reliance on Fernandes? And another question is, I mean, is he really playing good? Because if you take those away, is he really contributing enough to the team?
You can't.
In terms of contributions, definitely, because obviously he's getting the goals and assists, and but I do feel his performances are getting covered, or the lack of good performance is getting covered by the stats, because he's the focal point and everything goes through him. And he's got probably him and Cavani are the only players who have that killer instinct, composure, to put away the chances. What happens is it covers his actual performances. I mean, I thought up until that goal, his performance was terrible. I can't remember him making the right decision, the right pass. He must have. I wouldn't be surprised if the stats showed he gave it away more than any other player, and he kept making the wrong decisions. He was trying to do the most difficult thing, and sometimes just play the player through. You don't need to commit a defender or trick and reverse and go out the other way. It's hard to be so harsh because he's been so successful with it, but you do begin to have to question, is he ruining more opportunities for United to score because of his poor performances? And ultimately he ain't getting the passes off correctly. He's making too many mistakes, giving the ball away too many times. A lot of those scenarios, if someone else was there, we would end up with a better end product. Can't guarantee whether it'd be a goal, but it'd be a more clear-cut chance because he keeps giving it away.
I don't know if I agree with what you're saying. Only because Bruno Fernandes is a high-risk, high-reward player. He will do the most difficult thing because it tends to give him the biggest reward, hence his stats. He will try something 100 times. It will come off once, and that one time will be the game winner or the assist that gets you the game winner. Like today, for example, poor performance, but if he doesn't play, Man United don't get the goal.
But you have to also question the amount of times where he has got the ball in a good position and he doesn't execute. What if there was someone with less ability, less risk, just played the simple ball? You can't ever
Man United don't have
judge that. The amount of chances when the overlap is on and it's just a simple pass.
But who's he overlapping
overhit
to?
it, or he'll turn out the other way. Those are chances or opportunities that are getting missed that we'll never know what could have been if we had maybe a more simpler player there. And I totally agree with you. He is a high risk, high reward
when
player.
He doesn't
I think
play,
United's whole system plays to that. So you can't knock it in the sense that it's working for United.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, United don't win. They tend to struggle, and then they bring him on, and he will get the goal or the assist that wins the game. So they've tried it without him.
But I think that's ultimately because of the system is so much revolved around him that when he's not there, they struggle for the ideas. When you create a system where you're dependent on the high risk skill of one player. And when he's not there, it doesn't suddenly mean, oh, the players are used to a different system and a different style. They are still used to playing, having that one focal point and everything being played to him. So when he's not on the pitch, it's not, we're not going to score. So really, the question is more around Ollie's system.
Yeah, it's your manager doesn't have a system. That's what it is. So you rely on the players to force the issue. And Bruno Fernandes is someone who will always force the issue. And that's why he's become so important. So when he doesn't play, no other player forces the issue. So then you get players like, what's the one that you signed for 40 million who doesn't play?
Van der Beek.
Van der Beek.
Yeah, Van der Beek. Good player. Technically good. But when he plays, all his passes seem to be safe because the movement of the other players isn't what he is used to. Whereas Bruno Fernandes will be like, someone should be there, so I'm going to kick it there. If they get there and it's there, fine. If they don't, it doesn't matter because I'm going to do it again the next time and I expect him to be there. If they're not there, then I'm going to take the shot myself. Only he does things like that. Marcus Rashford does it sometimes, and when he does it, he looks good. But him, Rashford and Martial are streaky players. In fact, speaking of Martial, why did he even start? He hasn't been good all season, and he's getting game time, and it's causing more issues for Man United.
Do you think Bruno should have started?
I think United fans know Ollie has his favourites. He does, like a lot of the managers, but what's more concerning is the long-term project, because, you know, if you look at football and teams that have been successful, especially in the top European leagues, this system of relying on one player and relying on everything to be created or scored by one player doesn't win titles.
I'm sorry.
Because the better teams will mark Fernandes out the game.
Yeah, some of you Man United fans are very, very shameless. I hope you listen to this properly, because that Bruno Fernandes goal wasn't that good. I see some of you guys compare it to the Zidane one.
Really?
Weird.
Wow.
No, but that's obviously the diehard fan supporter talk. But
it
was a good goal.
There. He just kicked it.
Come off his shin. It came off his shin. But it was still a good goal. I mean, the ball was that high up. It was a hard technique. And the fact that he came off his shin is because he understood he had to get over it. It's a great finish. Can't deny that,
man.
I mean, on
can't deny. I think your Arsenal lens is shading your ability to judge Fernandes' goal
guys,
in a fair manner.
On the topic, really, second half, what did you guys make of it? Especially Adil, what did you make of the second half and the 3 chances that West Brom kind of created?
3.
Well, that's the scary thing about it, is the West Ham ended up with the 3 best chances. And I actually preferred the first half tempo, where it was slightly slower, but we were actually shifting. And to me, there was a bit more intelligence to the play, because we were shifting the midfield across from one side to the other and then played it through. But the worry for United fans and West Brom was done well to counteract it, was in the first half, United's biggest threat and most creative player was actually Harry Maguire, because Fernandes couldn't get on the ball, or when he did, he was giving it away. Harry Maguire was causing all the problems by pushing up and leaving Lindelof 1v1 at the back. Now that's a worry. You know, you got your central defender being the focal point of your attacks.
Well, Van Dijk does it for Liverpool.
Sorry?
Van Dijk does that for Liverpool, so it's not a worry, is it?
No, it is, because Van Dijk is playing the odd ball, but the identity isn't reliant on it. Against West Brom and recent games, it's reliant on Maguire taking risks, dribbling out, and actually creating the overload, which he does well. It's not like he doesn't do it well. He does
sometimes
do it well. But second half, what happened was West Brom pushed Gallagher further forward. So what happened was that pinned Maguire back, because on his first touch, he straight away had the player come out to him. So he didn't have the initial space to dribble in and get that momentum going. So then United went to lack of ideas. Even though we picked up the tempo, we weren't shifting anyone anymore. So what was happening, the ball was going out wide, and they're just dribbling it until they lose the opportunity.
Speaking of Harry Maguire, Man United's facilitator of play, dictator of tempo, why is VAR needs to start booking players for diving? And because some of these so-called penalties that aren't given are dives, and I don't think anyone, I think I said it in one of our other reviews of a match, it's a clear dive and nobody gets booked. It's just, oh well, it's not a penalty and that's it.
I think what it is and this was always the worry with VAR, especially with elite level players, is they're very intelligent. So what's happening now, we're seeing it in the Premiership a lot, is players are playing for penalties knowing that the camera will make the chances of a penalty being given higher. So you can't say it's clear. He was looking for it, he's playing for it. But again, it's a contact sport, and I think VAR does not understand the contact element of the game. That, you know, if you look at every box, players are touching each other, holding each other. You know,
I did on that really. The person who's in charge of VAR, the person who's looking at this incident, they could easily tell the referee to go and look at the camera.
They did that in this one, and
no, this is my point. And the
sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't.
The referees seen the video, and they've obviously seen the original play when it happened. Surely they know how much contact was there. So it doesn't that rely on the referee to make that call to book the player, not VAR?
No, but we know there's human error. Like, you know, when that decision first happened, there was a delay. The referee didn't give it straight away. It's like he took his time, looked at some of the appeals, and then gave it. It wasn't like instant, that's a penalty. And referees have human error. I mean, players can influence referees. It happens all the time. There's some referees in the Premiership that only give fouls and free kicks and make decisions when players scream, you know, or call for it. So human error is there, but it's also the same in Stockley Park, where they reviewed the VAR. There's referees there, and they're making the same errors. And a lot of the times, especially with the experienced ones, you more senior referees who are in the VAR center, you see where more of these decisions are wrong. Like here, I think it was one of the more senior referees, and it's, you know, it's the same referee who was in the VAR for, I think, Sheffield United and Man United, the non-decision of foul on De Gea. So I just think there's going to be human error. We're still relying on humans, but players are now playing to VAR. They're becoming more clever and intelligent with it.
Thank you.
Wow. Man United were lucky to be in that game anyway. They should have lost. And
so I mean,
lost quite
West Brom should have won.
Yeah. The chance where Maitland-Niles plays a terrible pass when they're 2-on-1 in the area. What's his name? Diagne has a shot, hits De Gea. If he went for it the same way he went for his first goal, he gets there before De Gea and he scores the header. He didn't.
I think he didn't anticipate De Gea getting back up. I thought.
I think he thought De Gea was still on the floor
because just safely pushing it in.
Yeah, if he went at it the same way, that's a goal. That's 2-1, and then the final chance. I mean, yeah, Cavani scored that. Bruno scores that. So a lot of these things come down to quality of player, and that's the reason Man United are in the position they're in. Their attacking force is clinical. they tend to score most of the chances they create because their defense is poor. And Man United's position, to me, is a false position. So earlier on in the season, all the talk of winning the league and 21 in 21, reminds me of when Tottenham won the league when did they win the league? In November. Tottenham won the league in November. Man United won it in January. Who's going to win it now? Well, I think Man City, but
Man City, pretty much.
Now Man United are looking at a top 4 fight when they were almost 10 points clear.
Yeah, and I think that's the worry for United fans is the way in which, because I feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is protected because everyone was expecting it to be a lot worse. So what happens is now that they are second, and last year they done better, he's given a bit more leniency from the fans. Obviously, the fact that he's a legend, the fact that
may Ole stay forever.
The fact that he's doing better than the previous managers have done helps. But the fact is, yeah, in terms of building and the squad, the players, his signings have been good in terms of harmony, in terms of working with the players instead of, the problem with both Van Gaal and Mourinho was they brought expensive players and then they were the first ones to discard them. They're the first ones to stop playing them when it comes to Depay, when it comes to Dalot or whoever. There's loads of examples now.
When it comes to Van de Beek.
But the thing is with Van de Beek, I actually believe that was a signing more about Pogba than it was about United money.
Now that you've said that,
with Pogba.
Now that you've said that, with Pogba injured, Van de Beek should be playing, but he still isn't.
The problem I have with Ole at
Van
the
de Beek not
moment
good
is
enough.
no, it's not nothing to do with whether he's not good enough.
But he just doesn't suit Man United. It's like Thiago at Liverpool. Thiago is amazing, but he does not suit Liverpool. And Van de Beek does not suit Man United. This current Man United, anyway.
I think Van de Beek can fit into this United system. There's a few games he played as a midfielder, not a 10. And he looked a lot better.
I think
because
he's too
it forces him to face the opposition a bit more. Obviously now, I think part of the problem now is his confidence is actually shot. He does not open up and take the ball side to it. It's sometimes it's so frustrating because there's no one behind him.
He's playing like
he doesn't even take a touch. So you can tell the confidence has gone. He's playing ball back, ball pass back. But the problem I have, especially with this game, is Pogba's form being good. So you're telling Van de Beek, look, players are playing well ahead of you. This game, there was no need. You're playing West Brom. There's no need to play 2 stick defensive mids.
Not at all. But that's Ole's go-to.
But I feel he went to McTominay because he knew Lindelof ain't good enough physically to win those headers. So then what happens is you're compromising so much on what you should do in terms of as a team because you got favoritism with players you shouldn't have, like Lindelof, like Fred. I mean, Fred shouldn't have started. In my opinion, if you feel you need that height to counteract Diagne, then play McTominay with Van de Beek.
I like Fred because he's so bad.
No, I'm not saying he's
Fred
never played bad yesterday, but the point is you're playing West Brom, you're playing with 2 defensive mids. If Pogba was fit, Pogba would have been one of the players playing in midfield because he plays out wide against the teams, the big teams, because his work rate ain't good enough against the bigger teams.
Adil, and just to kind of end it, and last question, keep it short, please. Where do you think United will finish? Famik first.
5th or 6th.
Adil?
I think, the top 4 is Man City, Liverpool, Leicester, and Chelsea. It's looking like.
I think Man United will have enough to get to. I think they'll scrape through. To be honest, I think they've got enough of a gap, and ultimately they perform well against the better teams, and they are brave. one thing is they are a high risk team. So a lot of the reasons why they have been successful is because they're not afraid to play with risk, like Famek said, and it's not just with the risk that Fernandes makes, it's risk with the formation, risk with just leaving Lindelof and Maguire at the back. So they do have a mentality where they go for it, and I think that always gets them out of trouble.
Which better teams have Man United performed well against?
They played really good against City.
What was the score in that game? Didn't City win?
I think might have been a draw. I'm not sure.
I think United have draw.
I think United haven't beaten any of them.
But they have beaten all. They beat most of them at the back end run of last year.
I'm talking about this season.
The point isn't necessarily the results. The point is
the performances. Fair enough.
And I think a lot of them have actually been draws because it's become chess matches where both teams are respecting each other too much. So I think with United, they've had a lot more draws, and yet last year they got a lot of those were wins. But I think that's partly because the teams they're playing like Liverpool or Man City, when they played against, they're playing a lot more safe. They're not actually going for as much as they were or would have done. So, teams are definitely threatened by the pace and counter-attack of United. So they are over-respecting. But the main point is the fact that in those games, United turn up and they do take the initiative. You'll see the possession stats up. You'll see the chances. Most of the time against those teams, they actually have more chances than the bigger teams, and they're just set up to play against the better teams. They're more confident in their identity.
Thank you, Adil. Great insight into United's progress and how the game went in terms of West Brom maybe should have nicked it towards the end, and some great information about.
Well, you're saying that, but you have to factor in. Maguire did hit the post late as well. There was 2 clear.
It was a great save. It was a great save.
I think both teams had 3 clear-cut chances second half.
But thank you guys. Enough. Thank you for your input, and I'll talk to you soon.